Hey, this is Raff Mcmahan here to talk about the Beatles' revolutionary approach to the studio and recording from 1965 and on. The Beatles are known for their extensive influence on popular culture and rock pop music, but they were also very innovative in the studio and developed a lot of techniques that are still used today in recording and audio editing, as well as brought techniques used by music concrete to the public eye. One such technique that they invented is ADT, or artificial double tracking. The story behind the technique is that the Beatles were growing tiresome of needing to multi-track their vocals in 2 takes, which means they would have to sing in more or less the same way at both times with identical words and phrasing. So with this in mind, one of the Beatles' engineers at the time, during the recording of Revolver in 1966, Ken Townsend, came up with the idea of taking the original vocal take and duplicating it onto a variable speed tape machine and making slight adjustments in speed to the track to create small instances of difference in phase in the 2 tracks. And how they would do that is that while the variable tape machine was, or variable speed tape machine was playing, they would just put their finger on it like that, like very lightly, and that would make it delay like a little bit, and that would give it the illusion of 2 separate takes without having to record them again. And that technique isn't used in the same way right now. Well, I guess because we don't use tape machines as much, but like when you're in a DAW, you can just drag record a vocal track and then drag it just a little bit, like behind or something like that, to give it like that little phase difference. So it's the same effect, but just different technology. They also utilized the tape machine as an instrument in several other ways. The song Tomorrow Never Knows from the Revolver sessions utilizes tape loops or samples created by the band, and while tape loops were being used in music concrete, it wasn't common practice in pop music at the time. So I'll just play that song really quick. Here we go. So like you can hear there's some sort of like sound that sounds like a seagull or something like that. I think that's a backwards guitar solo that was sped up, and there's also a pretty clear backwards guitar solo and a like an orchestra playing a B flat note. Yeah. They're also known for recording guitar and vocal tracks backwards, or they would record them forwards and then run the tapes backwards. And they would also slow it down and speed it up, and that was a technique that was used in music concrete, but it wasn't really common practice in pop music. And they also synchronized tape machines together to record more tracks to be bounced onto one machine later, because they were limited to only 4 tracks at the time. I think there were 8-track tape machines, but at the studio that they were recording at, Abbey Road, they only used older models of 4 tracks. They're also known for having been one of the first users of extreme close miking for stringed instruments for the song Eleanor Rigby. And they placed them so close to the strings that they were almost touching them, and apparently the string players were pretty scared of that. But it was used to create a more full-bodied sound, utilizing the microphone proximity effect and capturing the earliest wave possible to achieve a sound that was clear and captured the low end effectively. And they definitely sound different from a lot of strings they record at the time. And I'll just play Eleanor Rigby really quick.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the right
and you can definitely hear the low end really prominently, especially in the cello. They also had the first recorded example of sampling of other music in their song, Yellow Submarine. It utilized a marching band brass sample that George Martin cut up and reassembled and put into the song for a short brass solo. The song I Am the Walrus also had a sample of a AM transmission of King Lear broadcast by the BBC. And a third one was Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, which has a Calliope sample. And they tried to get a Calliope into the studio, but apparently it was not as simple as they had hoped, and they ran into some trouble. But what they ended up doing is they got a Calliope sample, and then George Martin cut it up at random places along the not in random places at the end of each phrase, and then put it back together in a random order, so they would sound like a different part. I guess in conclusion, not only were the Beatles envelope pushers in terms of songwriting and genre definition, but they were revolutionary in the way studios were and still are perceived. Okay, thank you.